you hear the name Atlus, most people think of the Megaten series. You have the mainline SMT series like Nocturne, and a real Shin Megumi Tensei game like Gaten Megami Tensei with full frontal female nudity on the cover. Devil Summoner and Persona, the real waifu harem simulator, where people fight about who's the best girl with the most amount of Rule 34 on the internet, as well as canceling those who likes waifus in the series because you can only like those who are getting shipped with the same sex. But around the late 90s, Atlus had other plans than just Megaten. In the late 90s, Atlus had involvement in sponsoring the Japanese Touring Cars Championship, the JTCC, a Japanese racing series, and even had their branding on the certain cars. And later in November 1998, they made a game based on the series called Advan Racing due to a partnership with Advan. Atlus made a racing game. They tried to compete against similar games like Gran Turismo or Toka around the time. This game often gets compared to Gran Turismo since they're based on racing in closed tracks. But that aside, this means they could have made a Persona racing game spin-off cash grab that everyone in the Megaten fanbase have been memeing about for a long time. Atlus is one of the last names you'll hear about being tied to cars. This game never even left Japan. It never even got beaten, even according to Japanese internet, and neither did I, since I had a wild time figuring out the career progression. The progression is just that vague and confusing, but we will get into that later. They even made different trimmed down versions of the game in under 2 different names called Nets Toyota Racing, a game only given out through Toyota dealerships in Japan, and what the business model that was. When they handed this to D3 Publishing, it went under another name called the Simple 1500, the Real Racing Series Toyota. And these guys are the ones behind the series or Defense Force or Onechanbara. This game's history is already a mess, and we haven't even gotten into the game yet. So enough yapping about this shit, let's get to it because I'm too broke to avoid SMT5 Vengeance on Steam and Metaphor nerf Hulkenberg's ass. Upon launching the game, we get a couple minute long live footage video of race cars on the advanced racing team, and then we're put into the main menu. For the sake of this video not getting over an hour long, we'll start with Quick Race. At first glance, the game doesn't seem that bad. It has championship mode, where the game generates a random championship with random cars and tracks, although you can pick your own car. Spot Race, which is your typical single race event, where you pick a car, track, and conditions and start the race. Time Trial, which is your typical hot lapping mode, but also has a guide mode where the game shows you what it thinks is the optimal racing line, which it feels horribly at. Arrange mode, where the game gives you random multi-class races with random opponents from different classes, although you can manipulate what cars rivals will use. And then split screen versus mode, where 2 players play a 1v1 race for people with friends, which Persona fans don't have. The game contains 8 car classes. We got car classes NC 3 to 1, which are normal sports cars from slowest at 3 and fastest at 1. And then the TC class, which are just the upgraded variants of these sports cars. STC, which are the slower race car class, and SSC, which are the fastest race car class. The entire roster is full of Japanese made cars like Toyota, Mazdas, and Nissans, a weeaboo's wet dream, and they will goon all over it because of Initial D. But there are also Western made cars like the ones from Dodge, BMW, and even Lamborghini. More high-end supercars like Ferrari, McLaren, and Jaguar even made it into the game as unlockable bonus cars for those who want a real supercar. And at the JDM shitbox, after selecting a car you get 8 tracks to select, all of which are Japanese race tracks in real life. Something that Gran Turismo didn't have since they relied on fantasy tracks until the second game. And unlike Gran Turismo, you can adjust the time of day and even the weather from sunny, rainy, to foggy. After picking your track of choice, you're taken to the pre-race screen. You can even tune your car here, just like Gran Turismo, just with less detailed options. And onto the racing. Shit, is that cockpit view? Yeah, this game does have a cockpit view, albeit a lackluster one compared to Toka. Since Toka has a much more detailed cockpit view, since it has an animated steering wheel, animated dashboard, and a working mirror, as well as being able to see the driver's hands. Though to its credit, this is something that not many games had on the PS1 during the 90s. The game has much more cars on screen, up to 16 cars, compared to Gran Turismo's 6 cars on screen. But it's quite laggy without overclocking the emulator, especially since the rivals love rubbing up one another, like the Rule 34 between Elizabeth and Meguro. making the game render sparks and smoke all over the road, making the game run much slower. The AI seems to rubberband more on the hard mode. But a powerful car can just outrun them. There may be only 8 racetracks, but at least the weather and time conditions can make it look different, especially when the fog is around during the night. But you will barely see jack shit. Although to its credit, it does add variety to the track, though you will never get rid of the AI being a complete asshole trying to block you, hitting you, and spinning out, and therefore blocking the goddamn road. Car collisions in this game is weird. It's like your momentum is frozen until you quit rubbing against the other car. Compare that to Gran Turismo's bumper car crashes, but both don't really excel in this department since neither game have a damage model. Car damage during this era of gaming was rare anyway, and won't be until the PS2 era where we'll see something decent on a console.
Take your best shot, flat woman.
Oh. Looks like I got a bit carried away, huh? Anyways. The handling is also a tiny weird. You're supposed to slow down and take the corners normally, but you can sometimes just slide around the corner without losing that much speed, without spinning out or compromising the handling too much. Cars will spin on takeoff, and drivetrains have some slight differences, along with wet tracks affecting the handling of the car you are driving, including AI cars to some funny results. The game also has both fuel consumption and tire degradation enabled by default. Gran Turismo 1 only had tire wear and endurances, and fuel consumption was only introduced in Gran Turismo 4, which was years down the line.
Flat woman.
Eventually, you will have to pit in. Just be sure to press triangle before you pit in, or else you'll hit an invisible wall. Then when you enter the pit, you can even choose if you want to switch out the driver for an AI controlled one, similar to Gran Turismo 4's B-Spec mode. So already this game has some features that makes this stand out from its other competitors. Fuel and tire consumption, time of day and weather adjustments, and a decent car roster. Although it has some flaws, such as the car modding quality looking questionable, like one of Atlus's latest modern games. But overall, at first glance, the game ain't that bad. But you know what's bullshit? The career mode.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Starting off, the game gives you a Honda Civic to start with that is stuck on automatic transmission because you cannot change the transmission of your car once you have it in your garage. So already we're off to a great start. You don't even get a choice on what car to start off with. However, once you get enough money, you can go to the shop and buy upgrades for your car. Things like better tires, engine, transmission, the usual things you do in a racing game like this. And eventually upgrading the cars from the NC variant to the TC variant automatically when you upgrade the car enough. And yes, it will switch the car class, which will enable you to take on TC car events. This all sounds fine and dandy until you get to how the event progression works in this game and how nobody has even completed this game because of this stupid fucking progression system. The game's events are structured in a calendar structure, starting from January onto December, with race days in certain days that you will have to choose and lock in before joining the races you have chosen. Once chosen for the month, you cannot pick another event until you complete those events or abandon them. And then the game proceeds to the next month and the cycle repeats. Along the way, some of these events are in Japanese, so you will need to use Google Lens to translate this crap. Wait, some of these events? No, all of these events are in Japanese, so you will really need to use Google Lens to translate this shit. Unless you know Japanese, which I don't. For the events, we got national races, which are just regular circuit races. Night races, which are just races at night. Drag races. Event races, where I don't even know what it means because Google Lens suck at translating Japanese. Same drivetrain races, which pits you up against the same drivetrain type. Same make races, where you go up against the clones of your car. Spot races, where I don't even know what it really does. And arranged races, where it's a multi-class race. The championship races for the NC and TC class cars are the only properly documented events that progresses the game. The NC and TC class championships have both regular short sprint races and long endurance championships for those two classes, where you can compete in one round per month. And then afterwards, there will be a finale round at the end of the year, along with an All-Stars championship that gives you a lot of money. Winning these championships for both the sprint and endurance type events will reward you with bonus cars like those supercars I mentioned earlier. With that said, the best way to tackle the career mode is to upgrade an NC car of your choice until it warrants you to upgrade to the TC class on the next upgrade. And then have another car to upgrade to the max so it'll become a TC class on the next upgrade. And then participate on those NC and TC class championships. Go through those events and you unlock those bonus cars. But other than that, the rest is pure uncharted territory. After doing some of these races, Advan gives you an offer to accept their free tires, which seems normal at first, and then you realize something. How do I unlock the race cars in career mode? And perhaps unlock that oval track that's teased in the thumbnail for the Mcrae ring, and maybe bonus race cars that no one has even seen before? Well, nobody really knows. I've searched high and lows on the internet about this, went to Japanese blog sites, watched some Japanese guys' review of the game, and found absolutely nothing. Nobody has beaten this game ever before. However, in that video I watched, you can get more events somehow. So I went and tested some theories, and well, you can. However, the most consistent method I have found was to do all the events in the calendar, and then afterwards you get invited to drive a race car. And invited to a tire test event, which are just time trial events, STC machine test, which is yet another time trial event, and an STC qualification round, which suggests that you can soon attend an STC race event after this month's done. Finally, it seems like we're getting somewhere. Unfortunately, even after doing all those new events and doing all those other races that don't even require you to use an STC car in it, it still doesn't even give you any sort of fucking progress to it. Because the game can just go and take away your new race cars, and then now you have to prove yourself again to regain access to them. So I did what any sane person would do and did every single event on the fucking month again, to the point where I was able to get a streak of getting those cars back. But unfortunately, I can't find a way to enter an actual STC race event that isn't a goddamn time trial. I have spent 75 hours and 6 in-game years doing this bullshit, and I have found no leads to progress, and this ultimately is the biggest flaw of the game. Because the game never tells you anything or gives you clues on how to progress compared to the competitors. This leads to decades of no documentation on how to progress through the game, aside from the NC and TC cars getting unlocked when you finish their fucking championships. No info on how to unlock that oval track, and how to even get full-fledged race cars and race car events into the career mode. And as such, I dropped the game because of that. And no, there isn't any cheat codes for this game, because game FAQ is inaccurate as fuck. In Gran Turismo, it gives you enough resources and info on how to beat the game. You go buy a shitbox, do license tests, do races when you get your licenses, buy and upgrade cars, and even upgrade them to a racing kit version of the car if you want to. Participate in races that ranges from shitboxes to full-fledged race cars, and then soon the World Championship. Then after that, you beat the game and you unlock the credits. Speaking of which, you can even beat Gran Turismo 1 through the arcade mode, which is much less bloated than the career mode. It even gives you a checklist on that mode. Gran Turismo 1 also has a similar car list to Advan Racing, with mostly JDM cars and some Western brands included in it. But the game encourages the player to try out a variety of the cars it has on offer through event restriction. So after all that bullshit is done, we only know how to partially beat the game after all this time. So I guess that's it for Advan Racing. How about the other 2 games that are cloned from Advan Racing? How bad could those be? It's mid. They're just a random slice of content from the main game without the career mode, with only 4 tracks per game, and only having a random assortment of Toyotas for their roster with no cockpit view.
Is this some kind of sick joke?
However, you can now drive on that oval track that has been teased to be unlockable in the main game. But at least now we get to see what this shitty oval track looks like. It's just Mcrae Ring's oval track version. I mean, just look at this mess. But if you want to pick those 2 games up and think you'll have a hidden gem, you're greatly mistaken. In 1999, Gran Turismo 2 already came out and is much better than these 2 clones. It has more tracks, more cars, more odd looking cars, despite being a rush job to hit that Christmas deadline in 1999. You're much better off spending time in that game than Atlus's own shitbox simulators. Well, I can now see why Atlus doesn't make a racing game these days. Persona shits out too much money, SMT is somewhat trucking along with Nama's big titties on display, and metaphor is flat as fuck. The only car editing Atlus has done today is place Hulkenberg's flat ass on Haas's F1 car. And Haas is one of the most underperforming team in modern F1 history. I mean, look at this! Look at their latest results! One of them fucking retired! And look at this other shit over here. 0 points, 1 point, 2 points, and there's another crash! Fucking skill issue! And F1 is a fucking motorsport series that banned flag girls. They banned fan service. They censored it. They fucking banned sexy women for no reason aside for family-friendly bullshit ass excuse. And it's mind-boggling how there's actually people on the internet that's actually defending this ban just because they're so afraid to offend women who look less attractive and probably their wives who already has a boyfriend. Japanese touring cars is better. It even renamed to a much cooler name like fucking Super GT and has better cars. And they never banned grid girls, they never banned race queens, because they're not fucking cowards.
Get fucked.
Also, why the fuck is a good bunch of Metaphor's party based on F1 drivers' surnames like fucking Stroll, Hulkenberg? How more obvious can this get?
Flat woman.
Atlus abandoned fan service for one of the most boring motorsports in modern times. Just like how Metaphor feels flat as fuck. But should you get this game? Fuck no. It has some good features that is missing from Gran Turismo at the time, but almost everything about the game aged like spoiled milk, and its competitors have been fucking better than this damn game. No one will ever remember this game, and it will forever stay forgotten. Hee ho.